I think a misconception that Asian Americans have about Black Americans is that we are violent, rude, lazy, that we don't like or respect them.
George Huang woke this morning to find his mini mall burned to the ground.
They just don't seem to have any respect for the Black community.
If anything, I'm not sure if there's enough knowledge about the Asian American culture to have a misconception, if that makes sense.
One of the biggest things I wanted to address is how much anti-Blackness is rooted in our culture. Sometimes it's very subtle, but is very deeply rooted.
Latasha Harlins, a Black teenager, is shot and killed by a Korean store owner.
I think they have a lot of the quote-unquote good stereotypes, and I feel like a lot of Black people deal with a lot of bad quote-unquote stereotypes.
Their oppression, is horrible, but Asian oppression is also horrible.
Asian people just want to hang out with Asian people only, like trying to talk with them or whatever. Sometimes they would just look at me and just like ignore me.
My name is Lynn, I'm 30 years old, I'm an actor, and I'm also unemployed.
My name is Faith, I'm 21, and I'm currently an apprentice for a hair salon.
Hi, I'm Tony, I'm 35, a digital marketer and a podcaster.
Hi, my name is Regina, I'm 29, I currently work as a data engineer.
Hi, my name is Taylor, I'm 25, and I currently work as a program assistant for a nonprofit.
What's up, y'all? My name is Joseph, I am 27, and I'm an actor, musician, activist, and looking for work.
If you agree with the statement, I want you to step forward and take a seat. I care about being accepted by white America.
Being accepted in white culture means, I guess I'm not discriminated in a heavy way. And I think there is a level of comfort that I take in that. Not that that doesn't mean I'm going against any other culture, but it...
Pause.
Proceed, sir.
Very quickly. This is the core of the problem. America has always makes it difficult, white America specifically, always makes it difficult, those in power, always make it difficult for people to ally with us. You are punished if you ally with us. So what that boils down to is, if you want to make it here in the United States, part of that is to push Black people down. You have to stand on Black folks in order to get ahead. The Italians did it. The sorry folks, the Jews did it. The Greeks did it. The Germans, everybody did it to come into whiteness in the United States of America, right? So, and that is one of the prerequisites to rise in this country, is to leave us behind. I wrote an article. I called it "Leave Them Negroes Outside," because that is the cost of being part of the mainstream in the United States, is leaving us outside. That is the single, let me say this again, that is the single cost that goes across every single culture. No matter who you are, whether you're African, whether you're Caribbean, whether you're who, it doesn't matter who it is, you have to leave Black folks behind, Black Americans who descend from chattel slavery behind. That's the cost of getting into whiteness. That's why they're willing to throw us under the bus. Anybody got anything on that?
Isn't it interesting how he's saying this, but he's dressed like Kanye or Pharrell?
I was about to say that shit. Word up, he do graffiti and shit. Nigga, he do graffiti and all that shit.
He looks Korean to me. And Koreans and Blacks, our cultures run close together in this country, because a lot of Koreans and Blacks live near Black people. So that I have seen a lot of Korean people adopt Black culture.
Yeah, anybody who gets anywhere near us ends up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, anybody gets anywhere near us ends up adopting our culture in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through sports, whether it's through art, music, whatever. And this guy, it's no shock because our culture is American culture. You know what I mean? So this is his way of, I guess, fitting in. But ultimately, fitting in is one thing, but if you're gonna move forward in this country, leaving us behind is the key. John, what you got? I'm sorry, Mud, were you finished?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to add to that.
All right, bet. John, what you got?
Right. I mean, yeah, I agree with everything y'all was saying on this, man. Like, he do like he the third member of the Neptunes and shit. He want to be he the third. He skateboard Pete, the other nigga that on the drum machine and something like that. Not the dude that's with him, some other dude in the background, but he want to be accepted by white people. I mean, yeah, this is not a shock to us. You already know this shit.
Yeah, we know, we understand.
Yep. So,
yep.
All
right, let's ride, Sam.
There is a comfort level, and I think it's a privilege that I have that I'm able to be looked that way, even though I'm a minority.
Yeah, I think it's a sad reality that I have to sit here, literally only because I think currently white America runs our society and our system. Right. And in order for me to benefit myself, my family, I need to align with that sometimes. It actually gives me great anxiety when I step into a situation and I know I'm the only POC, because then suddenly I am in my head as to how should I act to have a normal conversation. A lot of the times when I'm in a group setting when everybody's Asian, especially Asian people who only have Asian friends.
100%, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
I get this weird feeling that now you're gonna label me as the white one. And I hate that because I'm not white. Yeah. It's just a really weird identity crisis.
It's the first time in my life I've heard someone say exactly what I've been feeling for my entire life, but yeah, that's exactly how I feel about that.
Can the disappears please come forward?
I hope that you can release yourself from the shackles of that, because you're never going to be, and I understand, but you're never going to be accepted. That's how they've set this country up. And like, as a Black woman,
I would like to take this moment to say that's a fucking lie. That Asian woman can marry a white man and move into a white suburb and be accepted. Exactly. And not be looked as differently.
That's why she says she will align with white people. She knows that there's circumstances where she can align with white people. Like, we don't really have those instances like that.
I agree.
Yeah, you'll be slightly different. You know, the worst is going to happen. Your neighbor's going to have an Asian fetish, and that'll be that.
I want to go 2 places with this, right? When we did the anti-Blackness in Asian cultures with the Indian Asians, they talked about how there was already like a family, an Indian Asian family that was living in the neighborhood, and then a Black family moved in, and nobody wanted their kids to play with the Black family, and the Asian Indian family felt pressure not to let their kids play with the Black family because they didn't want to be ostracized. So this is things that happen. Like, they understand that there is like a buffer, and everybody understands that Black people, it's anti-Blackness, and it's even more so it's anti-Black Americanness.
Yeah, that's true. Because the Nigerian family moved in to be different. Yeah.
So, and then the next point I wanted to make was, we as Black people have to stop telling people of color what their experience is in this country. You are not a person of color. You are a Black American. Your experience is different. So you don't get to tell a Asian woman or a white Latina or a normal or a medium colored Latina what their experiences and how they'll be seen and how they'll be accepted, or if they won't be accepted. Because I see people of color accepted in white society all the time. Yeah. All the time. So you can't like take your experience and kind of like use it to be like, you'll never be accepted because you're just like me. Like, she's basically trying to be like, Black people, we've been going through this for so long, we've never been accepted. So since we've never been accepted, you won't. That's not how this works. That's how the Irish became white. The Chinese, Japanese got more money than white people. And that's how the Latinos gonna become white.
a lot of dyed-in-the-wool white supremacists will marry an Asian woman. They'll marry an Asian woman quick, and they'll be accepted into the community. I don't know what that's about. Maybe they meet in the middle about hating us. I don't know what it is, but that's a lot of dyed-in-the-wool white supremacists will pick an Asian wife. Big John, you got anything on that?
You right, man. You right. It's crazy how these motherfucking white supremacists, they really got a weird ass Asian fetish and shit like that shit. I don't know what that's about. You know they weird.
Maybe they trying to get a POC pass or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they like Pokemon a lot. Maybe they just like, I don't know what the fuck these niggas into.
Actually, I would like to take this moment to say that white supremacists love all non-white pussy. And damn it, I'm mad that I said it because fuck, I'm trying to be a lady. But let's not pretend like after the Capitol raids that there wasn't a bunch of pictures of these Proud Boys with they black wives. A lot of them wasn't Black Americans, but there was a few Black American women sprinkled in there with these racist white supremacist husbands from the Proud Boys.
Shout out to Strom Thurmond.
With they
Shout out to every light-skinned Negro in America.
Shout out to Joe Biden for doing Strom Thurmond's eulogy.
That's a very nice introduction. It could have been shortened a great deal by saying Joe Biden is here tonight. He works for Strom Thurmond. I came to the United States Senate. I was a 29-year-old fella out of the civil rights movement, a public defender, and turns out one of my closest friends ends up being Strom Thurmond, a man whose background and interest at that time when I came were considerably different than mine. If you had told me when I entered the United States Senate that one of the people that I would have the closest relationship with in the Senate would be Strom Thurmond, I'd have told you were crazy. And so I guess I can kid about Strom, because as Strom told me, he said, Joe, if there has to be a Democrat as president, and I hope it won't happen, he said, it might as well be you. And after I dropped out of the race, he came to me and said, don't worry about it. He said, you got a good 30 years left to try.
No, don't get me started on. Don't get me started on Joe.
Hey, but you gotta throw it out there, you know. Talk about he was a good guy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I think one thing we need to view this white acceptance. I think we need to view it as a spectrum, right? We're always going to be in the red, right? We're always going to be in the red. Black Americans will always be in the red for obvious reasons. And then some folks end up in the yellow, and a lot of these Asian folks end up in the green, right? There's a level of acceptance, and I think, like most people in the United States that aren't us, are willing to accept being yellow or almost all the way green, as long as they're not in the red. You know what I mean? So they're willing to be the yellow and green as long as we're in the red, and in the red by ourselves. They don't give a fuck. You know, and that's
they're very comfortable being the buffer class.
Very comfortable being the buffer class, and very comfortable with our oppression. Very comfortable with our oppression. As a matter of fact, it's to the point, at this point, they don't understand how the world could function without our oppression. This is really weird, but it is what it is. Anybody else got anything on that?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, please.
You want to go, Sam, or?
I actually want you to go first because you don't talk a lot. So I would like to hear your verse.
Yeah, we don't get enough mud.
Yeah,
I bet you never heard that on Clubhouse. We don't get enough mud.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please, man.
Nah, I think it's a little bit deeper than like just the racial thing, because like we were talking about earlier, like even when we're talking about Black people from African nations or the Caribbean, they get a different experience, because in American society, it's not just the Blackness. It's also, like Dr. King said in that clip, it's the othering that has been done based off of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think white people in this country, and I'm talking about non-segregationists, people devoid or thinking they're devoid of racism, do you have any idea of what they want the Negro to be in America?
Well, it depends on the level that we are talking here, because I think you have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed in the white community on the question of racial equality. And I must confess that I think they're in a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's a kind of installment plan for equality, and they are always looking for an excuse to go but so far.
Why are they looking for the excuse? What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
That's a part of it, and that grows out of something else. You can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. If you use something as a means to an end, at that moment you make it a thing and you depersonalize it. The fact is that the Negro was a slave in this country for 244 years. That was a willful thing that was done. The Negro was brought here and changed, treated in very inhuman fashion. And this led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. And the other thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil.
And that's what's created our culture, is kind of like the experience of slavery and this history of discrimination in this country. So when they look at us, they don't accept our culture. So what makes us acceptable to them is if we remove ourselves further and further from our culture. Versus like these other groups, like you can be authentically, Korean and be accepted because it's seen as exotic in a way. But we can't be authentically, Black American because our culture has been seen as something that is like lower class. It's coded that way. So like you'll see a Black person with one of these white supremacists, but they're the most whitewashed Black person you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, Candace Owens.
Yeah, it's not going to be, a certain type of Black person.
Self-respecting, maybe that's the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
I gave up on that a long time ago because I know I'll never be accepted.
I grew up in a conservative white area. It was such a big difference where I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the blackest person ever. So, so for me, it was one of those things of I had to learn how to be more respectful to their culture because I felt like they were trampling on mine so much. I went the opposite, almost militant Black.
Listening to Reset Race, you now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Back on the grill again, we grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. On the edge, go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings, we are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one, cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire, anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country, the win, you need our energy. You gon' see? Listening to Reset Race, you now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.